who was crazy, until they were right all along. Hemingway, before he took his life, he became extremely paranoid the FBI was following him. His wife and people around him just thought he was mentally ill and grew deeply concerned. Hemingway went as far as getting electrotherapy at a psychiatric hospital to try and help with the perceived delusions. Turns out the FBI had been following and bugging him for years according to declassified files. In the days of landlines, my phone was tapped. I could hear a strange hollow sound and I knew someone was listening. I had had a bad accident and was home for almost a year and involved in a lawsuit. I told my attorney about it. He told me the insurance company would not bother. I mentioned it to my roommate. She told me I was crazy. I began to notice a van parked on my street. It was there for several days. I thought I was under surveillance. My attorney and my roommate said I was crazy. A person came to my door asking questions about the neighborhood. They claimed to be from a real estate company. They didn't go to other houses. I thought I was being watched. My attorney and my roommate said I was crazy. Several weeks later, my roommate's boyfriend was arrested for stealing physical and intellectual property from IBM. It was the beginning of the tech era and he stole millions in hardware and software and ideas. We were being watched to see if we were involved. The phone was tapped. We were under surveillance. We were taped. I was not crazy after all. Ludwig Boltzmann. His equations and formulas explained the physical properties of matter, but as it went against the then accepted laws of physics, he was ridiculed and ignored for years. While fighting for atom theory to be accepted, he took his own life just 3 years before Ernest Rutherford discovered the nucleus of an atom, proving Boltzmann's theory. For a very long time the medical community thought that stomach ulcers were caused by stress. A doctor in Australia called Barry Marshall claimed they were wrong and that they were caused by an excess of certain bacteria and the cure was simple antibiotics. The medical community ridiculed him and nearly ended his career. He eventually decided the only way to prove he was right was to infect himself, develop the ulcers and cure himself. In curing himself he was proved right and won the Nobel Prize for his efforts. And now stomach ulcers are very easily treatable. They previously affected 1 in 10 people. The dingo ate my baby. Lady got made fun of constantly, most notably in Seinfeld, and I believe went to jail because nobody believed her. Turns out a dingo ate her baby. She is still made fun of. The ex-husband of my ex-girlfriend. Turns out he was not the crazy one after all. He kept trying to tell me, and if I would have listened from the beginning, I could have saved for years of my life. Sinead O'Connor. Younger Redditors might not know who she is, but she was a singer. Songwriter from Ireland who was a staple in the alternative music scene during the late 80s and early to mid-90s, who had some crossover hits. Anyway, at the height of her popularity she was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live, after cancelling an earlier scheduled spot in protest against the guest host, which was some dumbass stand-up comic from the 80s called Andrew Dice Clay. As Scott Thompson described him, it's as if someone took your grandmother, the one who can't speak English, and taught her to swear phonetically, gave her a special on HBO and made her a star. During her performance she sang an a cappella version of Bob Marley's War, changing the lyrics to make it about child sexual abuse instead of racism. At the end of the performance she shouted something like "Fight the real enemy" and ripped up a picture of the Pope. In the following weeks people lost their shit, and on the next episode of Saturday Night Live they had at least 3 sketches that tore her apart. A few years later the Catholic sex abuse scandal broke internationally. Courtney Love was warning everyone about Harvey Weinstein back in the mid-90s, but everyone just wrote her off. If you are a woman in this industry and Weinstein invites you to one of his parties, don't go. If Courtney Love, of all people, tells you not to go to a party, you should really not go to that party. I fully believe that most of the rumors and bad press about Courtney Love come from Hollywood attempting to silence her. Don't get me wrong, I don't think she is a saint, but she has been very vocal on social media about her experiences over the last few years, and I always wonder if we would have known about the Hollywood abuse sooner, if she had been given a platform earlier. Harry Marco Polo spent 10 years trying to convince everyone, investors, journalists, regulatory agencies, etc., that Bernie Madoff was a fraud. Based on forensic accounting, Madoff was one of the most respected names on Wall Street, and despite the overwhelming evidence, no one was willing to entertain the thought he might be running a Ponzi scheme. Harry's book, No One Would Listen, is a pretty great account of financial detective work, and just the abject frustration of being absolutely certain you are right but no one believes you. Michael Burry, the first guy to predict the 2008 housing market crash. He was a hedge fund manager for Cyan Capital at the time, and basically bet his entire fund's liquidity, all the money the fund had, that there would be a crash. No one believed him except a few other people who also bet against the market. Several of his clients sued him for tying their money up in what they considered to be a foolish bet, all to have him be right in the end. He made his fund something like $1.3 billion and the value increased about 489%. The movie The Big Short is about him and the few other people who were wise enough to bet against the market at the time. I have watched the movie like 5 times in order to try to understand exactly what happened but still don't fully get it. I recommend it to anyone who's interested. Fun fact: Michael Burry was also ahead of the curve in the recent GameStop surge. I think he had something like 1 in 2 million shares of GameStop months before the price shot up. Might need to fact check myself. The doctor who found COVID in China and was silenced and died in prison from COVID. As a note from that article, while he was sidelined, ridiculed, and marginalized by the authorities for attempting to spread the news, he was not imprisoned at the time of contracting COVID and dying. When the Civil War broke out, everyone on both sides thought it would be a quick victory. However, Sherman kept saying it would be a bloodbath that would drag on for years. His superiors decided he was insane and sent him out west to fight Indians, Native Americans, just to get rid of him. After it all came true and they needed some better generals, they said, maybe we should bring back that Sherman guy. The fan that predicted the show's How I Met Your Mother message and was shamed, only to be completely right in the end. Corey Feldman, dude, went on national TV to tell everyone that there was a network of sexual abusers in Hollywood and that he himself had been abused, and people laughed at him and shunned him. And then it came out that pretty much everything he was saying was true. That one journalist, Gary Webb, that uncovered the truth that the CIA aided and abetted Nicaraguan Contra rebels in funneling cocaine into inner-city communities. Martha Mitchell, she was the wife of Nixon's AG, John Mitchell. She was outspoken in the extreme and was one of the first to talk openly about what really happened Watergate. Since she was also known to love her martinis, she was widely written off as a drunk, crazy woman. Behind the scenes, a White House doctor began heavily sedating her and her husband locked her away from the press. No one believed her until Nixon resigned and the story came out. To this day, most people only remember her as that loud mouth, Martha Mitchell. In the 2012 presidential debates between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, both were asked what the greatest foreign threats to America were. Mitt Romney said Russia, and became the butt of jokes on both sides of the aisle for it. Didn't he know the Cold War was over? Anyway, there is plenty about the guy I don't like, but I think about that answer a surprising amount as politics unfurls now. I almost feel like I would have to apologize if I ever met him for how stupid I, and everyone else found that at the time. Jon Snow, yes that's his name, was laughed at for believing that the multiple cholera outbreaks could be traced back to a specific source, and that it was due to contaminated water, essentially making him one of the fathers of epidemiology. He has a fascinating life that went beyond that as well. My mom. Turns out being emo was really just a phase. Winston Churchill, he was very much out of favor at the time that he began warning about German rearmament. In the first volume of his retrospective on the Second World War, he is emphatic that it was history's most unnecessary and preventable war. I kept telling people that Apple deliberately sabotages their phones to stop working overtime via their updates, and that it does not matter if you reject the update, it will happen anyway. Lo and behold, Apple was caught out using planned obsolescence via updates to sabotage their own phones to twist its customers' arms into buying a new one. They said, I was being paranoid. Well, who's paranoid now, Laura? Who's paranoid now? A delivery guy who said he was sued because a woman tasted cum in her salsa. He was right. The woman was featured in a news article calling out her bullshit. I love how she recognized the taste. The Unabomber, to a certain extent, his manifesto warned of technology taking over, ruining the planet, global warming, and causing us to lose our privacy. In no way does this condone his actions, not sure how those would have slowed or stopped progress. Thanks for watching. Share your opinion in the comments. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing. It will help a lot.